During the Second War, there was this paladin who was at the siege of Blackrock Mountain, and it is Alexandros Morgraine. He's kind of a hero of the Second War. And during this battle, there's one of these warlocks that has this void-touched orb that he uses to cast spells. And they basically just shoot him with a bunch of ballistas and shit, and he dies, and this orb drops. And as Alexandros is picking this up, it like completely like just corrupts his arm and like does a irreparable damage to it. So he puts it in a lockbox, and it kind of just sits there in a lockbox until just prior to the Third War. And that is where them hearing about Arthas going on his crusade against the plague and the undeath, he meets up with a bunch of these other members of the Silver Hand in South Shore, part of the Hillsbrad foothills, and he shows them the orb. And he's like, I think that we could turn this into a weapon of the light if we can just figure out how. And all of the other people there are like, yeah, that's stupid. I think we'll just try and destroy it. So they try and use the light to destroy it, and it doesn't work. It seems to just consume all the light. But then he's right. It actually turns into this orb that is just radiating with light energy. And when he actually picks it up, it heals all the scars that it previously had put onto his arm. Hearing about the culling of Stratholme from Sadie and Dathrohan, he's like, I'm going to take this orb to the dwarves, and I'm going to have them fashion it into a weapon. And with this, we'll be able to fight off these undead. So he goes to Ironforge. He meets with King Magni Bronzebeard, who is the brother to Muradin Bronzebeard, the man who trains Arthas to very first fight. And as he arrives in Ironforge, Magni knows that Arthas is in Northrend, and he has heard that Muradin has died due to his ignorance and taking up the blade Frostmourne. So he's like, I will forge this weapon for you. So the king of the dwarves forges this orb into a weapon, and he says it's the greatest blade that he's ever produced. And this is where we get the legendary weapon of the Ashbringer.
Wow, I did not know anything about the orb. I have a couple questions about this orb. This orb seems like it can change, and it doesn't really care if it's light or dark energy. It just is like a manifestation of whatever you give it. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Ashbringer does change at some point because of a betrayal. It's just whatever you use it for, this orb, it'll give you corresponding power.
I think that's actually a really good way to put it, yeah. Basically, as soon as the weapon is finished, he gets the news that Arthas has returned to Lordaeron, and, well, that's a bad thing. That means that King Menethil is now dead. That means that the scourging of Lordaeron has begun.